Hi everybody, we are back for English video number 2 on commas. Today we're going to be looking at introductory words to a sentence and interjections and when you use commas with those two things. So I'm back with my screen record. We're going to look at doing a couple examples and taking some notes. Again, with this video, if you don't want to take notes, you don't have to. This is just to give you some review over concepts that we've learned about in the past and help you do your IXL assignments. So the first thing that we're going to be looking at today, you can tell we're going to be looking at introductory words, and we're also going to be looking at interjections. They're two different things, but they kind of seem a little bit the same. So an introductory word is basically something that is going to be separate from the rest of the idea from your sentence. And that's a lot the same as the definition for an interjection. Pretty much the only difference between introductory words and interjections is that interjections are sort of a reaction to something that you might say. So let's look at some examples. Here we have some examples. Let's do examples. So examples of some introductory words might be well. So you could have a sentence that might start with well. It could be, well, I don't really want to go, but I'll go. That would be an introductory word to your sentence. So it starts out your sentence, but it's not necessary. It's like kind of a precursor to whatever else you're going to say. Another thing is a lot of times introductory words will be like answering questions. So you might say, yes, I did want to go, or no, please, I don't want that, or whatever. So yes and no are often other examples. What about examples of interjections? So interjections are a lot like introductory words, that they're separated from the rest of your sentence, but the difference is that interjections are sort of like, they're like sort of emotional reactions to what you're about to say. So it might be like, wow, the sky is so blue today, or the breeze feels so nice, or oops, I accidentally spilled the milk. Things like that. So one big difference between introductory words and interjections is that right here, I'll circle it for you guys, we see in some examples of interjections, you might use a different ending to your sentence, and that's okay. But it's important for us to remember that if we have a sentence here, so let's say this is our sentence. Wow, I love your shirt. Think about the way someone might say, wow, I love your shirt. Are they saying that just like a part of their sentence, like, yes, I want to go, or no, I don't want to go? Or is that sort of like an exciting or sort of like more feeling word? And it's actually, because you're going to use these punctuation marks, it is actually going to be a little bit more of a feeling word. So you might say, wow, I love your shirt, or wow, the sky is so blue today, or something like that. I'm not sure why my mouse is clicking like that, but basically when you use this punctuation mark, when it is something that you are giving strong feeling to and you use an exclamation point, it's very important for us to remember that we need to capitalize the next letter at the beginning of the sentence. So if we look at this next example and we said something like, the breeze feels so nice. Notice here, when you just say, like, when you walk outside and you're just like, oh, the breeze feels so nice. Is that word being said with a lot of emotion? Probably not. So you don't need a punctuation mark here, or you don't need an exclamation mark here. You just need a comma. But the important thing to remember is it does separate from the rest of your sentence. So either case, both of these interjections are separated from the rest of their sentence with some sort of punctuation mark, whether that is a comma or whether that's an exclamation point. So interjections, that's the only real difference, is that they can use, they can end with a punctuation mark that would start a new sentence. So like wow or oops, if they have that exclamation point, you got to start the next letter with a capital letter. The next option is going to be that you can also have just an introductory word that doesn't even need or can't even be an interjection. It's just like answering a question. So if you said something like, yes, I do want to go. We have an introductory word in this sentence that introduces the answer to the rest of our sentence. So what do we need to add between the introductory word and the rest of the sentence? We need to add a comma. Okay, so when you're answering questions or when you're writing, if you have something that has an introductory word like yes or well or no or something like that, you need to put a comma between. You also can put a comma between the interjection word and the rest of the sentence, like the breeze feels so nice. Or for interjections, you can also put a exclamation point, just as long as you remember to capitalize the letter that follows an exclamation point. So basically, introductory words and interjections, you're basically separating that introduction or that beginning with the rest of the sentence with a comma or an exclamation point. The last thing I wanted to talk about is that sometimes you have an introduction that has like two parts. So it's something called a direct address. And if you remember when we talked about this in class, that's basically when you directly talk to or address someone in a sentence. So it's kind of like when you would answer a question. So instead of just saying, yes, I do want to go, you could say, like whoever, you could respond to the person who asked you the question. So you could say, yes, John, I do want to go. So in this case, we have our introductory word, which is yes. So our introductory word is yes. So we for sure need a comma here. We know that. So we have our introductory word. We separated it from the rest of the sentence. The next concept I'm talking about, a direct address, means that we also need to separate the person we are directly talking to from the rest of the sentence. So we need the comma after yes, that's the person we're talking to. We also need a comma after the person we're talking to. So the name of the person we're talking to should be surrounded by commas. I'll show you another example. So if you said something like, Jane, I don't want to go. Or if you said, no, Sam, I don't want to go. So in these second two examples, we have a person that we're directly addressing or a person we're directly talking to in this sentence. So if we look at this one, do we have an introduction or an introductory word before that person's name? We don't. We don't have yes. We don't have like maybe or anything like that. We just have this person's name. So we don't need to put anything before that person's name, but we do need to put a comma after. So Jane, I don't want to go. That's the person. Jane is the person I'm directly addressing. Here we have no, Sam, I don't want to go. We have two things we need to fix here. We have an introductory word, and we also have a person that we are directly addressing. So we need to put a comma after our introductory word. We also need to put a comma behind the person we're directly addressing. So no, Sam, I don't want to go. Okay, so that's our basic introductions and interjections and direct addresses. And we use commas for most of those things. The only exception is here when we have those exclamation points. So if you have an interjection that you're using a lot of feeling for, that's exactly what those exclamation points are for, when you use a lot of feeling. So if you wanted to say something really exciting, or if you were scared. So for example, let's say like if you walked outside and you just said, oh, the breeze is really nice. That's not with strong feeling. But if instead you said, ah, there's a shark in the water, that might be said with much stronger feeling. So if that was the case and you do say this word with stronger feeling, you might take away that comma and put an exclamation point instead. So mainly what I want you to get away from this, what I want you to remember is that with anything that should be separated from the rest of the sentence, whether that be with strong feeling or without, it needs to be separated. So if it's with strong feeling, just need that exclamation point. And if it is just needing to be separated, whether that's the person you're addressing or the answer to a question or something like that, then you would separate it with a comma. So that's another use for commas. So hopefully you learned a little something today and you can go do those IXL problems. You guys are doing great. Keep up the good work.